Welcome, everyone. This is the inaugural episode of You Can Not Give Up. I'm a co-host, Terrence Claxon, and Gene over here.
Hello, how are you, my good friend? It's good
How's it going?
It's good to see you through a video screen.
So yeah, I guess a description of what this podcast is about. It's basically, it is an Evangelion podcast. It's about arguably, I would say, one of the best animes of all time. Sorry, plural anime of all time, because anime is both plural and singular, just like everyone's depression from this series. But I don't know what that means. But so what we wanted to do was not just talk about Eva, but also, have a guest on and talk about, much like Shinji, what is something about themselves they wish to either accept or something that they wish they can begin to start loving about themselves. And, the whole point of Evangelion was for Shinji to finally, accept that he was enough for everyone and he didn't have to prove himself to anyone, and he could just love himself. And that was basically what he had to learn in the end. But anyway, so we do have a guest today, our first guest, and we're very, very happy to have him. Gene, since you know Christian personally, you want to introduce him?
Sure, yeah. We have our my good friend, Christian Ortega, and he was, thanks for being on. He was the production designer on a short film I did. It was called Vera. We filmed that 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were trying to get back into it last year, but COVID hit because it's mostly done.
Yeah.
But I met you through there, and we just started talking and just shooting the shit online. We survived that shoot because that was an intense one, but we made it through. I'm just trying to think of random things on the shoot. We had a Home Depot van. We just rented it to because Home Depot vans you're not supposed to rent in the way we used it, right?
Yeah, they're pretty much just I think they just believe you're gonna use for a tool offload and just construction offload, and that was pretty much just the cargo van for the entire shoot. That was
but we found that if you rented a Home Depot van, as long as you didn't tell them you could rent it for such a low price an hour, so we just used this Home Depot van to transport equipment back and forth.
Man, I don't know if I ever told you. I remember the night before we started shooting, we were all sleeping at your guys' apartment.
Yes.
And I just remember
oh God.
A common friend Kyle was like, "Yeah, man, you just sleep on the couch." And I was like, "All right." So everyone goes to their bed, and I'm like, "Oh man, they didn't give me any blankets." Oh man, I don't want to be rude and wake everyone up. So I just grabbed a bunch of Fernie pads and wrapped myself in them.
Oh.
That was the grossest thing I've ever done, dude. The amount of dirt and grime that was in that. When I woke up the next day, this is, I don't know why I did that. I just woke up to get something. But that shoot was, that was a good shoot. It was fun. We all we were all rushing, but the one memory I had was those Fernie pads just leaking in that.
Can you explain to any listeners who aren't as familiar with Fernie pads what those are and why that's not good to do?
Fernie pads are furniture pads, and essentially you use them to wrap up any of the items you're carrying across to wherever so that they don't get damaged. But they're essentially very thick padded blankets that are constantly covered in grime, constantly covered in dirt, because that's all they do is just protect your equipment. And so you never wash them, you never take care of them. So this is just dirt and whatever gets spilled on it, just taking into this disgusting it's a sponge essentially just for grime. And so sleeping that thing was my brain just well, it's technically a blanket, it's fine. And then I'm thinking this is not fine. This is a bad idea.
Man, I was probably out, but
everyone was out, and I didn't want to I remember in my head I was I'm gonna be a rude guest. I'm gonna wait. It's fine.
No, it would have been. Yeah, no. If you just knocked on mine, it would have been fine. I'm sorry. At least you didn't see the. At least you didn't see the ghost that was apparently in that house.
Oh
People.
yeah, I heard about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you heard about. Our
Yeah.
previous house, Terrence, was most likely haunted.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Most likely, yeah.
Did
Oh,
you?
yeah,
Did you
what
see
was it like?
anything?
People that slept in that downstairs where Christian slept, like one or two people said they've like seen like shadows like in the
Yeah.
corner of their eyes, and my friend Diego claimed that he saw a bundled up person in blankets like walk across the hallway, and no one. He thought it was a roommate, but no one was there that night. He found out in the morning. So
Yes.
yeah, sorry about that,
Telling you.
but not living there now.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
That was in Alhambra, right?
Alhambra, yeah. It was like an old house too, so I
Dang.
don't
We're,
know.
Yeah.
we're already doxing you on this podcast.
Oh,
No, just
yeah,
kidding.
but like, I mean, I don't live there anymore,
No,
so
I know.
like,
I really just doxing this old house that's there in Alhambra.
yeah,
We're
dox the
doxing that
ghost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know, right? Write us a very sternly worded letter. I've been trying to hunt this place for years.
yeah. It wasn't a malicious ghost. The most it would do was just like knock stuff over, like a Funko Pop like launched across the room,
I heard
stuff
about
that
like one of those like window grates got like knocked out and
yeah.
like upper level.
Oh,
No one knows
whoa.
how that happened.
Yeah, a window crate. Like I woke up one morning and like this window crate was just like knocked out and the window was open because I felt a chill and I'm like, oh fuck, someone like broke in. So I called someone that lived in that loft and I was like, hey, what would be stolen? And he said, okay, this laptop, it was all there. I looked throughout the house, nothing was stolen, so no explanation for that.
Are you talking about like the metal bars?
No, it was like a window sort of like screen.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. It was just knocked on the roof, knocked out like, but it was like pushed out because it's like I don't think you could. I mean, you probably could like grab it, but like it was like it looked like it was like pushed like with like force or something. So, if someone was trying to break in, I'm sure maybe they would like cut it or like something more sneaky,
Yeah.
or like put it back. Yeah.
So I believe if
Mhm.
if things are being physically manipulated, then that technically counts as a poltergeist.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that means that there must have been some sort of angst within the house.
Yeah, I got that presence. I mean, I hate to like now this is like a paranormal podcast. But yeah, like I had like maybe like one or two like I have like sometimes I get this. It's like what's that like you're asleep but you're still awake.
Yeah.
Oh, sleep
It's a-
paralysis. Yeah.
I get
Yeah,
sleep
yeah.
paralysis like once in a great while, but I got a lot there. And I don't know, yeah, it didn't feel like it was like bad dreams. I just got it, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there was definitely like some sort of poltergeist thing because like, but I think it was like it just wanted to let us to know it was there. It was just kind of like, oh hey, like, all right, I'm like you're there. I'm like I'm not gonna fuck, I'm not fucking with you because that's stupid. But I'm gonna go to
Gene,
bed.
representation in the Earth realm matters. So I mean, he just wants to be
Yes.
seen.
Yeah,
As a
he
person
just-
of color, I can tell you that
yeah,
poltergeists want to be seen.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say if it's a bunch of angst, it's much like our character discussion today, Shinji.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's a good segue. Yeah.
So-
Like, haunted house.
Christian, tell us your history with Evangelion. When did you first watch it?
Ooh, oh my god, dude! Like, so my history is having man, the multiple pronunciations of that word. Evangelion. Honestly, the weirdest thing is like I remember being a kid, like literally 5 or 6 years old, and I was at this party, and it was very weird. It's like a very my mom took me to this party, and all I remember is at the party we were giving like gift favors at the end, and one of them was that this parent gave us a bunch of comics, and it's comics I'd never seen before because they weren't like American, like DC. It was a manga. First time I ever got handed a manga, but it was weird because it wasn't like a book. It was like a comic book, which I've never seen that for like still haven't seen that for an anime or any Japanese like manga or like, comic book form.
Okay.
But it was Pokemon.
Okay.
And what I remember about this is that I read it. It was really cool because it was like, it was like, it was Ash and all that. Like it gave it a very different story of like how he started with Pikachu and all that. But at the end of the book was like every other comic, a bunch of advertisements for different manga you can read. And the biggest one that was on there was Neon Genesis Evangelion Asuka was on the cover. She was on the robot, and I was like, "This is fucking cool. I don't know what this is. It's a girl on top of a robot, and I want to know what this is about." And I remember my mom and brother used to do taekwondo when I was little. So we would go. That whole district was like a Korean plaza, and right next door was this Korean store, like just sold a bunch of like Japanese merchandise. And when we went inside, they had Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I was like, hey, "What is this?" I remember being a kid asking him. He's like, the guy was like really cool. He's like, "Oh, it's a show. Have you never seen it before?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "It might not be for you. This is for like adults."
Put it lightly.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." It's like, "I don't think it's right for me to show you this." And like that's like how like I first like, but it was like one of those like I like it was always in my brain like I want to know what this is. Like I'm not allowed to see this yet. But it wasn't until like later on, like I finally was in high school, and the whole like, "Oh, I can't watch this because I'm a kid." Like, "I'm gonna fuck that. I'm gonna watch it anyway." So like, I just went online, and I believe that was like during the heyday of like YouTube when everything was on YouTube because it's all like, illegal. Like you can find everything in parts.
But was it edited to like a Linkin Park song or something?
Oh, yeah, all those AMVs and shit.
Yeah.
If you typed in just the right words, like if you just really, went to the grindstone with this thing, you could find every anime you ever wanted. Like you could find every episode you ever wanted. You just had to title it really weird. And they would come up, but the episodes would be broken down in thirds because I think at the time YouTube only did like 10-minute maximum.
Yeah.
Uploads. Yeah. So we would go on, and I would find like I found all the episodes. I ran through them, and the biggest thing that hit me when I finished that show was, what the fuck was that show about? I wanted to be really cool and like shout out to everyone like, "Yeah, I've seen it. I know what this show is about. It's really cool." And like, but in my head, like I have no idea. Like if anyone asks me anything about like what happened, what's going on, I'm gonna be so lost. And I was like, you know what? Let me give me a rewatch. And I think I've watched that show like, man, as a teenager, a minimum of like within a year 4 times, just so I can try to understand what that show was about. And it was still so like I kind of like obviously like the more and more you watch it, like you're picking up newer and littler things. But also as a teenager, I didn't know like how to access my own emotions and feelings and understand what to do. Like it was very much like it was a very big experience. But yeah, like that's how like I had my like start with Evangelion, was watching it through YouTube, seeing like the introduction was again that comic, that backsplash of that comic,
right.
Seeing Asuka on top of her unit. Unit was Unit 2. No, she's Unit 3, right?
Unit 2.
Okay,
Unit 2.
Yeah, because I think Shinji's, or I think Rei's 00, right?
00. Yeah. Shinji's Unit 1.
Unit 1, yeah, that's right.
See, the show's really confusing.
Nice.
But yeah, so like that was like my introduction to Evangelion was again through the comic book and just watching it through YouTube and seeing so many people, so many discussions about like what people thought about it, what it meant. And I don't think like they really had any like explainer videos at the time, like it was there. So I always had like kind of guess what it was about. And like even like watching now, like a lot of the YouTube, like anytime like a movie came out, you'd have like some tie-in where like, "Oh, we got paid by this company to explain the whole show for you." And even watching it, like I love how a lot of the these hosts would be like, "Yeah, so we still don't know what it's about. Like this kind of like how we think he meant this?" And like he kind of, because the one thing I've always heard was, well, they ran out of money, so they had to they ran out of money.
Yeah, but like at what point do they run out of money?
Yeah, and that's what I'm always wondering. Like, okay, like I get for the animation, but the story, did they run out of money for the story? Like they couldn't write I never got that, because then when they said like, "Oh, we're redoing it," and then like I would read reviews, everyone's like, "Yeah, it's still kind of confusing," and like I don't understand what happened. And then like the excuse come back, "Yeah, well they ran out of money, so they couldn't continue on with it." I was like, how much money does this man need? Like I kind of curious if we can give it to him and finish this story, because I feel like no one really knows what it's about. But I'm starting to get like the feeling like I don't think he kind of gets what it's about. Like I think he just kind of like is winging like a very good idea, just does not know how to complete it. And I kind of get that from like so many people, like through our ties in like the movie industry, like who have written a really cool premise for a story, but did not finish writing that story. Like they
Yeah.
don't have an ending, you know. And it's like, oh man, that sounds really rad. How are you gonna end that? That sounds insanely complicated. Like they don't have an ending. It's just like, yeah, like I don't know, like they live happy ever after. Like it's one of those, and like
Yeah.
you know, obviously we don't get that with Evangelion. It's
Right.
way more grim look at like how it ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
think that was definitely my how it happened.
Nice.
The thing about Eva is that actually there was no manga at the time that was based off of it. It was an anime first, and then a manga was created after. And the manga didn't finish until like it was like really late. Like I think it was like 2009 or something like that. Like it spanned like almost more than a decade.
Yeah, I wonder why that was. Why that was.
So basically,
I was just gonna make a joke that it was the reverse of the Frieza saga. Where they kept doing filler, but yeah.
And I guess like more details were actually filled into the comic or the manga, but it's just funny that like it does kind of seem like a lot of Eva because it was made in the mid 90s, and that was kind of the time when like a lot of creators were like doing things. It was like postmodern, but in a way that's like I'm gonna make things that are cool for the sake of cool. Not like 60s postmodern where it's just like kind of odd and weird. It's more like 90s postmodern where it's like I'm Tarantino. I'm gonna make the edgiest shit ever.
Oh man, you have to say the. Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you have to do that Tarantino impression and then compare him to how he's Anno. If you want, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Okay, so like there's this guy in Japan, all right? So this Hideaki Anno, okay? And much like my Hattori Hanzo sword, he is razor sharp, man. Like he makes this anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion, okay? All right, you following? And anyway, so the cool thing about it is two characters in the anime, man, they're really depressed because one of them has issues with their mom and the other one has issues with their mom and the other one has issues with their mom. And, I have issues with my mom.
Yeah, he does actually.
I don't know.
He does, yeah.
But anyway, so they're basically. I always say that Tarantino is like Hideaki Anno is like the Tarantino of anime because one, he came up in the 90s. Two, a lot of the stuff he does is kind of like a mishmash of other media. Like Eva is supposed to be based off of Devilman, and there's a lot of Gundam and Macross and a lot of other Kamen Rider and all that Tokusatsu stuff and all the stuff that he loved. He just tried to throw into one anime. But he also did it with like religious imagery and all this stuff that's just kind of
it's there for aesthetic,
cool, like for aesthetic.
It's just I love when people try to break that down. And you just like, no, I just thought it looks nice.
That's my favorite like little thing about that is just like, it looks really cool and like
doesn't it?
Yeah, like that's what like I love that because it's one of the things that like in something like in like metal or like death rock and all that, it's like all these dudes try to be like the edgiest and like you always hear like how much like like they want to like disgrace God and like go against the church, but like yo man, have you seen the church's art? Half their stuff is like saints, like these skeletons dressed up in like dresses. Like it is insane like what they do. They have the coolest like metal aesthetic without being metal, like they're trying to be religious, and it's like the coolest, like they dress up the dead and like all this beautiful jewelry. Like that is the most insane fucking thing I've ever seen. And it's like I kind of get it. Yeah, man, just use like their imagery. You don't even have to like do anything really different. Like just use it. But like when I heard him say like, there's no point to it, I really thought it was cool. Like, no, it is cool. Like the aesthetic to the church is just weirdly cool, and like I kind of get it because I mean those people were bored and had nothing to do back then. Like the artist like had so much like free reign, and like back then it wasn't weird. It was just like, no, this is just me like respecting or whatever.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, I mean, I went to like Catholic school, and I just remember like I liked all the paintings and stuff. I think that's the biggest takeaway I got from Catholic school. I mean, I'm a big comic book guy. I'm like, oh, that art's really nice. I don't agree with like all these books in the Bible, but
everything like that's like the one thing that like I just like loved about like the church was just that their art was beautiful. They had beautiful. I mean, like they had the money to produce like insanely gorgeous art. So
Oh, they
I
have
get
the money.
why they're like, no, we're just using it for the aesthetics. Like, yeah, dude, you should do that. Why hasn't anyone done this before? Like the whole thing with like, I mean, if you read the Revelation, it is the coolest sounding, like insane, just like
Revelations is straight Dungeons and Dragons. That's
dude,
it's just nonsense. He was probably like on acid or something writing it.
oh man, like almost all the like writers of the Bible must have been on tripping on some kind of mushroom or like anything that was just around locally. But the way they describe the angels, I mean, like I feel like even like it's now like a running meme though, where like you see people describing like, oh, the Western angel and the biblical angel.
Yeah.
And like, where you see like the real angel described in the Bible is fucking terrifying. They have like thousands of eyes, they have like 4 heads, their bodies are covered in flames and wings and all that. And like I feel that's what's so cool that like Ano just kind of like, I don't know if he did it intentionally or unintentionally, but tapped into like, no, angels are really weird looking. Like they are not, they are supposed to blow your fucking mind when you see them. Like they are not something that makes you feel at ease. Like it's the running joke. Like there's a reason why they're always saying "be not afraid" is because they are terrifying to look at. You know.
Yeah.
So to see that he took that imagery and like made the coolest looking angels, and like, I mean, the way they sound and react, and like the way they like all have like their own character, like it was so cool. I mean, one of the first angels, like huge cube, the way it screams every time it died, like it always like irked me and creeped me out. But like I like that, like it's just this cool imagery of like, yeah, angels are just like, they're not supposed to make you feel good. They're supposed to creep you out when you look at them. And I feel like he definitely captured that, like the way you look at all the different angels and like what they do. Like they're just creepy and it's cool imagery that, yeah, the dude just like, yeah, like I love that there's no meaning behind, just no, it looks rad. Like, yeah, like yeah, if no one else noticed this, it looks rad. Like, why hasn't anyone else done this? Like, just looks really fucking cool. Like, yeah, I agree. I'm so glad like he tapped into that. Like, has the coolest imagery for Evangelion.
Definitely. So Christian, you clued us in earlier that I guess your favorite episode or one of your favorite episodes is episode 9, which in Japan, so the thing is with Ano, he created 2 titles for the Japanese release. So there's the Japanese title, which is Shunkan Kokoro Kasanete, but there's also an English title that that is not the translated title that the localization came up with, but there's the English title that he came up with was Moment and Heart Together. And then the title 2, which is the localized title, was Both of You Dance Like You Want to Win.
Darn dubs. Darn dubbing companies.
Yeah, so there's technically 3 titles. There's Japanese English, and then American English, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess it could be worse, right? I mean, there's like, look at all the Dragon Ball Z titles get like mangled, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's like, it's so interesting that they went with that. Both of you dance like you want to win, and that's like, I feel like, oh yeah, that's weird. I feel like it could kind of work, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, clearly, like he's a writer, so he has like a better understanding of his work, so he chose a better title. But I feel like it is just a very American, like, yeah, they're dancing, so let's title it something with dancing in it. Like that's all they saw, and that's all they did.
Like, did anyone watch it on Toonami? Like, was there?
Not the whole thing on Toonami, but I watched. No, like, I watched some of it on Toonami as a kid, but I watched the entire series on DVD in college.
Okay.
And then some on VHS when I was really young.
Oh, okay. Because I remember like it only aired once on Toonami, like all the way through, right?
Yeah. I remember one of the craziest things that was just, I don't know if you guys ever had this, but it was like a local oddity, and I didn't find out until like years later why this is happening. But our local 99-cent store was selling like a bunch of like, this is like when VHS was going out, so they're just selling like all these VHS tapes. And when me and my brother went, we saw that they were selling anime, like all these shows on VHS. They had Gundam, they had Pokemon, they had Evangelion, they had all these like insane titles. And me and my brother were like, oh, man, let's get them. Because I mean, we still had VHS tape. I mean, but we're Mexican, of course we still have that. So we got as many tapes as we could. And I remember they were just $1 each because they were just trying to offload. Because I guess 99-cent store is kind of like a way for people to, it's a way for corporations to test new product. It's also a way for them to get rid of shit and like try to still like make some money back. And so we bought all those tapes, and it was insane because we remember like a week later, not even a week, I want to say like a few months later, I guess they realized how popular those tapes are because they sold out fast. It wasn't just me and my brother. Like all these other like Hispanic kids found out about this and were just buying up the tapes. And we like remember like a few months later, we were at the Promenade or something. We were one of those like Galleria like type mall places, and we're going around and like we see this tapes like because they stopped selling at the 99-cent store. We didn't know why. They just like, oh yeah, like they won't let us sell them anymore. And we go and we found out they're selling the VHS tapes for like $20 each. And so yeah, like I guess they realized like, oh, this is actually really popular. People will still buy these tapes because they are like these original like cuts of the show, which is just rad. But that's like how we got our hands on like a bunch of like old anime. But sadly, due to some way that they were stored, a lot of these tapes got ruined. And so like me and my brother lost. All we have now are like these old Pokemon tapes, and that's it. But everything else just got like sadly got trashed and like destroyed just because like the way my grandma decided to store them. And yeah, dude, we were heartbroken to find like all these like old like Gundam tapes, all these old like Evangelion tapes just gone. Like they don't work anymore. We couldn't run them.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking, dude.
What'd your grandma say? She was like, "Oh well."
Oh yeah, pretty much. They're like, "¿Qué pasó, mijo?" Like, what's wrong? And we're like, "Grandma, you destroyed our tapes." She's like, "Oh, sorry," and just like left it.
Oh, I love like the like whenever like grandma like messes like the grandma messes up. It's like you can't really blame them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like it's kind of funny though, because like my grandma's very super religious, and I feel like if she saw this show, she would just like have a like her mind would explode. And we're like, no, grandma, see that's it's an angel, and the reason why they're attacking is
So Christian, so yeah, you picked episode 9, which I'm actually happy because I only have one figure of an actual angel, and it is that angel.
Cool.
From the
Oh, nice.
Is Raphael. And so basically, so the episode starts off with I think all the kids are basically at school, and Asuka's kind of giving Shinji like a hard time. You know, she's like, I think the first thing she says is like, "Oh, aren't you cool now that I'm talking to you in front of everyone," or something like that.
Yeah. She's like really seeing how like much she knows people like really care more about her than like anyone else.
I was telling Terrence before the start, I'm like, man, I forgot how much of like a brat Asuka is at first. Like,
yeah, no, it's one of the things I've always like kind of noticed about like everyone's reception to Evangelion when they watch it as teenagers, and now when they're rewatching it as adults, is how much like they used to like really understand Shinji and really understand these characters and like hate Asuka, but then when they got older, like, oh no, Asuka was kind of like had a lot of points, and she was like kind of like more right in like what she was saying, like why she was so annoyed and angry with how Shinji was acting, like. But at the same time, like, but she's also still kind of a brat, like she like knows. It always reminds me of like those people that like, it's like, yeah, you're really good. It's just you because of how good you are, you know it, and you like flaunting how good you are, and like you kind of just want to see them fall once in a while, just like be like, that's what you get. But I mean, the problem is Asuka is like really talented and really good at what she does. Like she is a very good Ava pilot. As much like Shinji is annoyed by her, it's like, well, I mean, proof's in the pudding. Like she actually does do a lot. Like she did mess up with the like, I mean, the angel split in two, but like if you look at it from like another perspective, I mean, she killed like if it wasn't for that splitting two, she would have killed that angel. She would have done her job and like murdered it. It's just that like it just happened to be like, well, this one just happened to split in two. And like I feel like throughout the series, especially like towards the ending and all the movies, like you see how good of a pilot she is. Like she is like the top like angel killer of like their whole group. And just like it's like all the different angels. And it's like, yeah, she is really good. It's just she's a brat, and like it's one of those like it doesn't matter how right you are, no one wants to listen to you because like, you know, you're just like such a jerk about everything. And like that's what I always came across like with Asuka. It's like she is really good. It's just like you're such a jerk, no one wants to like listen to you. And like I mean the characters even say in the show, like where they're selling the pictures and they're saying like, yeah, like I'm glad that like, you know, these pictures can't talk, because if everyone had to hear her personality, they would have wanted and it's like, yeah, like that's 100% true. Like on frame she looks really cool, but in person like she's just kind of she's a big old brat. Like no one wants to like talk to her or hang out with her, and like it has to do with like the way she was raised, the way she was brought up and all that. But yeah, just big old brat.
I was telling Gene that like, well, Gene, I think he brought up that, you know, she was really bratty, and I mentioned that she makes some comments about Japanese people, which is interesting because Asuka's half German, and so she's essentially like, she is a white person
Mhm.
almost, just walking around in Japan, commenting on Japanese culture, and it is kind of, you do see kind of like a kind of a look into what anime perceives as like either classism or prejudice, and it's interesting. Like she probably thinks that because she's not full Japanese, she, that she's like different from the people around her, and it's kind of interesting seeing that how she interacts with people.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a great point. Like I love the scene where when Asuka comes into the house and she starts like kind of ranting about like, oh, it's too small, it's too this, that, and like
why do they have no locks?
Yeah. And like,
then I was gonna say Masato just like tells her off.
She does. She tells her off, and she's kind of like saying like, well, Japanese like don't like, they care more about others than yourself, and kind of like slightly burning her, just being like, you're like, self-interested asshole, like, but we care about everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of cool because like that also let me see like what Anno thought of his own politics, of his own people, where like he's kind of like saying like, well, this is how I think the Japanese people think. And it's kind of like a very interesting like little segment into the 90s of what they thought of their people at the time, and to see like how anime has evolved. And like one of the critiques I keep hearing is like anime is becoming more and more capitalistic. Like they are like learning more and more from Americans. And now you are seeing the shows where like, I mean, this one, like, like there's always the main character, but a lot of it's, through the power of friendship, through the power of working together and all that. And now animes are like, no, it's through the power of me being really cool and awesome, and I do this on my own, and it was just me by myself. And there's like a lot of American influences doing that, so it's interesting to see like this was that segment of like, no, it's about working together, and like you're the main character, like that's just how the story is written, but it's mainly about everyone working together. I mean, like this whole show and this episode is them working together and having to be the angel.
Well, I was gonna say, if you guys, I know Terrence saw it, but I don't know if you saw it, Christian. It's Shin Godzilla.
Oh yeah, yes, of course I saw it. That was an amazing film.
Yeah, and I was thinking like Asuka really reminds me of she's I forgot, she's like a foreign diplomat for the US. I forgot the character's name, and she's like, she was raised in America, but the dad's from Japan and everything. Yeah, she really reminded me of like Asuka, and you could see in like Shin Godzilla like all these like influences of Evangelion and all the themes like working together and all that. So I was like, I need to rewatch Shin Godzilla because that's still like because I think he did like after the original, which is still undeterred. I think it's like after that, it's like Shin Godzilla is the second best Godzilla movie.
Yeah, dude, that movie was so.
I love that.
Good. And like I feel like even in that movie, you still see like Otto's politics of like how he thinks about working together, how having self-interest isn't going to help anyone. I mean, like the way he shows
how the U.S.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude! Like he was very loud and clear about what he thought about us, which is like really funny. But I mean, again, he wasn't wrong, really.
No,
but
exactly.
Yeah, and it's interesting like to see like with the show that his politics have always been about like it's about working together, and it's about like it's very much teamwork. Like there is like, again, it's like, yes, there's a main character, but that's not like the message we're trying to get across. The message we're trying to get across is like like to get a certain task done, it's better to work together than to work on your own. And I mean, like you can always kind of like pull that apart in any episode where it's like it's very much like, Shinji's the main character, but it's always about working together. And like you see what happens when that doesn't happen. Like, when he decides to go on his own, when he decides to like reject everyone, like everything kind of just falls apart. Where like if he opened up and like had more people around, things might have gone better for him. Things might have
like the Hedgehog's dilemma.
Hedgehog's dilemma. And it's very interesting to see like how his politics, like how he's like throwing them out. I mean, it's like us being writers, like we see like how he's throwing his politics into like the dialogue. We see like in the characters' interactions, like, and it's just funny to see like how this is what he thinks about foreigners and like the way he thinks they view Japan and like the way he thinks they view their culture, and him kind of like, because I'm sure he's had interactions with like foreigners and like the way they view Japan. So like I think this is just him like kind of throwing his little arguments in there, and it's kind of just cool. Like I like seeing that, like the way he like, again, with the way he wrote Asuka, and like he can like express like how he feels about like Japan through her, because she is the foreigner who's coming in and like ranting and talking about like, oh, like why is it this small? Why is it like this? Why is it about me? And it's like, why the fuck is it about you?
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, what do you think are like some of the worst moments of this episode? Because there's a lot of like, by 2021 standards, there's a lot of problematic stuff.
Oh,
in this
oh my
episode.
God.
Yeah, I was rewatching it last night. I'm like,
I'll throw
man.
one. I'll throw one in there, which is, well, there's two. They're kind of side by side, but like, when Asuka is falling asleep next to Shinji, and Shinji tries to steal a kiss, which segues into Ryoji aggressively kissing Misato in the elevator, and he says something like, "Your lips," or your lips didn't tell me to stop, but your lips didn't tell me to stop, but your what did he say? So like your
yeah, I know what you mean. And but oh my God, yeah, that was like, I was rewatching. I was like, oh man, that's like this weird, creepy kind of pseudo rape scene, and I was like, I forgot this was in here.
Yeah, I just. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. I was wondering, is Kaji, was he like involved with Sato and then Risuka as well, or no?
I think it always gave that idea that they were to like, I don't know. It always seemed like a very like they kind of didn't have a solid connection with anyone. Like he kind of might have just like slept around, but I feel like Misato just liked him more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like that's like how it always came up to me, that he kind of like, yeah, he did have a thing with Ritsuko, but it I think just Misato liked him more. And again, you know, she was calling him like a dog, don't trust him and all this, and so it's like you kind of see that, like, I think it's just very hinted like, yeah, he was kind of like sleeping around with like a bunch of people.
I see. Yeah, all the men in the show, even though they have like their own hang-ups, are like kind of bad, terrible too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I feel like that's another way of Ano showing like his own personal thoughts and politics on like different people. Like, and I mean, like, yeah, I don't think Kaji was supposed to be shown in a good light. I think he was supposed to be shown like, yeah, he's kind of a scumbag, and I think this is like him maybe showing like this is like scumbag behavior. Like, I'm not sure, but it was a rough scene to watch nonetheless. Just like
right.
Ugh.
What do you guys think are like the best moments of this episode?
Oh, the best moments. Oh man, that's a good question.
I think just all the fights are so well choreographed and like cut the music and everything.
The second that music starts, when they do like, oh, it's 62 seconds, and you see the timer, and you like, it was like a very well choreographed music video, which I kind of saw it as like it's a anime music video before anime music videos were like a thing, which is kind of cool. And it was like that animation. Fuck man, I feel like even rewatching it yesterday, it was like a hit. Like, oh man, I forgot like how good this show was. Just like the way it was animated for the 90s, and just like the amount of detail and work, and like the way you see like, I feel like every time like they do fast movements for certain shows, especially like for robots, like now it's easy to do it because they have computer animation. Back then, they used to do like quick technique was to like kind of blur a lot of like the way the robot looks, so like you didn't see like these fine details, you didn't see it. But I mean, they fucking just went for it anyway, and you see like the fine detail like in the like each little fucking line. Like these robots are segmented to hell, which must be a nightmare to animate, you know. And to see it like still like there all the details there, you see like the way they flow, it's like beautiful fucking like scene during like the fights. But I feel like even outside of that, like I did love the scene where Asuka does like, she goes to pee, she sleeps on the bed, and the tape goes really fast.
Yeah,
good for me design. Yeah, dude, I felt that same anxiety because of the sound of the whirring, like the music going really fast, and like it made me feel uneasy. And I like, oh, that's the intent. They want you to feel uneasy, and now they're gonna do it by playing this super fast music. You feel just how Shinji feels, and it's like, damn, dude. Like, I mean, as creepy as the scene is, because again, he's trying to steal a kiss. Like, it does still give you that same anxiety, which like that is such a good, like, well shot and like well like directed scene, because like I felt what they were trying to get across. It did, you know.
Exactly.
All right, so we've talked about the worst and some of the best moments from this episode. I have one more question for this section of the episode. Yes. Christian, who is best girl?
Man.
So wait, so
like half of them are 8th graders, I'm gonna go with the adult for this one.
Yeah.
Masato's
mine. Masato's mine.
But because she's like technically the least like cringy in like her history, I'm gonna go with Ritsuko.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Had less a little like crazy, but that's about as like from what I remember what it is. Just she's a little insane. That's fine. I'm cool with that. Misato had a little weird kind of pedophile tendencies once in a while with Shinji. I'm gonna go with Ritsuko. Ritsuko's the only one like, all right, she's a bit insane. That's fine. I can handle that. I'm cool with that. So I feel like Ritsuko. Ritsuko's just kind of been like a bit of a jerk, but again, like I feel like has not had like any like horrible things like attached to her name. Yeah. It's just she's like kind of a scientist that's a bit cold sometimes, and that's it. And it's like, all right, I can dig that. I mean, that's she's a very archetype of the scientist who's supposed to be like cold and calculating, and like it's about getting these numbers in, and it's like, yeah, all right, she filled that role. She did that. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Ritsuko. I think that was like of all the girls like the best character. Like I was always like just cool with like the way she handled herself, the way she handled like a lot of. It was very. Now I'm bringing it down a little bit more in my head. Very interesting, like the way she defends all the characters and the way like she kind of has like this understanding of a lot of them, and like I don't know, it's very damn. Now I kind of rewatch it just to see like the way she like addresses all the characters, because she seems to like kind of understand like everyone's problem. And I'm wondering if that's just because she's supposed to be the scientist that's constantly like looking and like observing people and like breaking them down. And I mean, I'm not saying she handles any situation well. Like she's still very cold about like how to handle everyone's emotional impact like towards certain things. But she does have like these moments of like, hey man, this might be really bad. We shouldn't be doing this. Like it's probably a bad idea.
One part I liked about this episode, when Ritsuko's talking to Misato about how they're going to take down the angel, Misato's doing the Gendo pose. She's just doing the this. And it makes me wonder because I believe wasn't Ritsuko in a relationship with Gendo later on, or it was revealed that they were.
Man, everyone was sleeping with each other.
I wonder if that was foreshadowing or something like that, or I don't know.
I mean, like I always like took it as like wasn't it like like she was in love with him, but like wasn't it also like she kind of like idolized him too, like she looked up to him, and that's like kind of why she was falling for him. So I kind of like see it as that, like I think it's like I don't know if it's like foreshadowing that they're gonna like reveal that. I think it's just showing like how much she was already kind of like him, which I think is just like a fun thing to like look back, like oh hey, she's copying his pose, and I really do think like that is definitely like a hint of like who her character is and like how much she is kind of like Gendo.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So going into like our final section of the podcast, and this is where it kind of flips and it doesn't kind of stray from the anime. So in a spirit of Shinji, we're going to ask our guest, what is something that they are learning to accept about themselves, or what are they taking any steps to learn to love themselves?
I mean, for myself personally, I mean, right now I'm kind of like accepting. I mean, I don't know if I want to say accepting. Like, I'm not in production design anymore. I'm a union carpenter, and pretty much like effectively kind of left the like movie industry unless like I ever become a journeyman. I can maybe go back, but it's something that's honestly like, I've never been happier. I've never like loved doing my job anymore. Like I have like this protection and like it's this weird like respect that comes like with working these jobs, and like it's like switching over to union construction has been like such a good thing for me mentally. Like I've never had to deal with any like just asshole fucking production designer or director or someone like I feel like working in the movie industry, as like cool as it was, also did open my eyes to like the type of people you're working with and the type of people that are in that industry. I mean, like one of the things I always have like a now new understanding towards is like how you should not really listen to actors. Like sometimes they're like some of the worst people. Like they are like, for me, majority of the time they are massive narcissists who only care about themselves. And so hearing any of their opinion, it's like, I think they want to hear themselves talk more than they want to give this opinion. And like, I've just, I've been very disillusioned to like how people respect actors. Like, you probably shouldn't. Like, these people are not good. Like, they're kind of like awful garbage people.
Yeah. Only like Tim Heidecker, like
like it's very few people that like I can honestly like, oh, they seem like decent people, but a majority of them are like, oh man, I need you to shut up and please stop talking to me. Like,
when you're like Tom Cruise and you're yelling at people on set.
Stop moving the lights. Who's moving that light?
Oh no, that was Bale, but at least Bale apologized.
Oh, that's right.
Tom Cruise is just like,
do you know how much money I invested in this? This is my money we're talking about. That's worth more than you.
Yeah, that was so gross when everyone was like, "Oh yeah, he's telling these people that aren't taking COVID seriously to fuck off." It's like, no, like they probably were. It's just like I mean, like people mess up on set, and then also too, like Tom Cruise was above the line, and these are below the line people. Like, he went about it like just the absolute worst way that you could have done that. So sorry to interrupt you, but.
Oh no, dude. No, it's I feel like he also was someone who like, everyone saw it as like, oh, see, he's taking COVID seriously. He's like, no, he's taking his investment seriously. That's what
exactly.
That's his investment, and he was afraid of losing out on that investment. He doesn't give a shit if these people get COVID. He gives a shit if he loses all that money. That was it.
Just gross, just gross all around, and that's why they quit too. All those people quit. So I wonder,
what happened?
That hero Tom Cruise of COVID safety. Yeah, I wonder why they quit.
No, but I mean, outside of that, like the movie industry is something that I was very disillusioned to. But like now working construction, like I feel like I'm getting my life together and doing all this stuff, and like I really love the progress I'm going through. Like it's not saying I'm gonna completely abandon like any kind of art. Like I want to go back to that eventually. I do still like doing photography. I like capturing film. It's just right now it's like, fuck it, let me get my shit together. And once I have like a more like solid foundation, I can come back to this and not like have to be sweating it because I spent like $500 on the lens, or be like deciding like, am I gonna eat today, or am I gonna like spend money so I can like buy this thing I need for work? And it's like, no, like the union's taking care of me really well. They're paying me really well, and eventually I'll be able to come back and be like, no, I'll buy this thing. Like I'll buy this thing for the set that I want to build, and like whatever I need, like I'll feel way more comfortable and calm. And like I know it's a long journey to process, and like I'm not doing anything where I'm trying to live in the moment. It's like, no, I'm kind of planning this out better. So like when the time comes, I can execute these plans like easier instead of like again panic rushing and like screwing up somewhere because like I need to get this. Like it can only be done today. It has to be done today. It's like, so fuck it, let me just shoot through it or something, and like just not have the product I want to like deliver to people. So I'm kind of glad like I'm going through this I guess this journey to better myself and learn to time everything better so that when I actually want to like create a piece of art, I can create it in a way that it's going to be to like a standard that like I know I want set out,
Yeah, good.
As someone who does work in a creative field, do you feel like creating art or making art, do you feel like it's something really, really personal to you? Is it something you feel is an extension of yourself? Like if you weren't able to make it anymore, how would you feel about yourself?
Oh no, it's always an extension of myself. It's like it's always so weird when like I mean that's like the running like trope, right? Of like everyone's like, oh, why are you making this political? Why are you making this? Like it's always been that. Like all art is personal. It's always been personal. It's very rare when it's not. The only way I can maybe kind of say it's not is if someone is paying you to make some kind of recreation. But even then, you can always say like just the way you recreated it is showing your quality, your work ethic, and like how good you are at recreating something. And yeah, like fuck, sorry, my brain is like blinking out.
No worries. All good.
So wait, do you have any so with that said, are there anything else you think that you're striving for, I guess, to I don't know, I guess come to terms with your with your situation right now? Anything else, any goals you're trying to fulfill right now?
Well, I mean, definitely. Just because I have like recently become way more political, it's helping out with like community outreach, community activities. Again, like as we mentioned before, podcast. Like, I'm a communist, and I'm part of the Communist Party of CPUSA. I'm part of the LA Club, and we've been like planning a lot of things. But recently, they actually want me to switch over to trade, just because like I would work better with the trade unionists. But I've been doing a lot of just educating myself on these topics to like not so much I mean education because like I want to be more well like prepared for any like conversations. Like I told you guys, like I was at a party yesterday where my sister's fiance thought it would be funny just to tell people like he's a communist, go talk to him. Like all these people just decided like to question me like, oh, why do you believe in this, why do you believe in that? And at first, like I mean for me it was fun. But I know in like an real situation that would be really bad. Like you shouldn't probably do that and like just be like in a room where you have to defend this like very hated idea and defend it constantly and like
well, especially I was gonna say in America too. I heard
It's,
I heard a good saying where it's like America doesn't like things it didn't create. So like that explains a lot.
And doing a lot of like these readings and stuff, like I feel like this weirdly ties back into my art though, because even when I was writing, like there was always something where like I would write these stories, like I always like had this intention and idea of writing these stories based on these characters, what they're going through, but I always kind of got stuck on the ending of how it ended because like I always came to like idea like I feel like I was very much following a very the liberal and conservative idea of how movies should start and end, where it's like, well, the person who was a bad guy gets taken down and now the main character's in power. I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't that bad that they were in power. Like that was not good that they were there. And so I always like get stuck there. And like finally, like now that I'm way more into like these politics, I'm like, this was a kind of like the answer I was looking for. This was the ending I was looking for. It wasn't so much that they beat the bad guy, took over. It's they beat the bad guy and destroyed the system that put them in there in the first place. I mean, like that's how like the more I deconstruct movies now through this new lens of through leftism, communism, whatever you want to call it, you do see how like a lot of movies, like let's say for example Harry Potter, like yeah, he defeats Voldemort, that's good, that's a great thing. There's still like slavery in their wizard society, there's still like all these like horrid things in their wizard society, and it's like, yeah, he just really defeated a bad guy but left an open space for a new bad guy to come in. And like,
well, I guess on Pottermore they're like, well, this and this happened, but not like in the books themselves. that happened.
No, and that's like what's so interesting to me, and that's like because I'm doing like all these new community things and like realizing like no, like a character doesn't get to the top because they're on their own. Like I mean, like it's like we were talking about before. It's through the power of friendship. It's through the power of community. Like it's through working together is why like you're gonna defeat this bad guy. It's not because you were on your own. Like yeah, sure, you're the main character, but it's through working with others that you are able to complete this task and goal. And a lot of the working with people, working with these communities, working with these groups, and the more you see that like it's working together is what like gets your goal through. Like that has something that like I know, again, like I'm not currently working on my art, but I know it's currently influencing it because like I have like this little notebook with like all my ideas down, and now I'm writing like, oh, like this is how I should have ended that. Like that one script I was working like, now I know how to end this. Now I know like what the character, like why I was just stuck so long, like like everything was like, well, now the character's a bad guy, and I don't want that. Like I want like a good ending, and like I realized like, oh, it's because the system they're in is still there, and that's what they need to take out. Like this bad guy was just like a temporary block to like what was actually like suppressing them, what was actually doing all
like in Alita, Battle Angel.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, yeah, it's very much interesting, like how what I'm doing with my life is I know it's eventually going to come and affect my art when it comes back to going into art. And I'm just really happy with like the way my life is going, and like, and it's a lot of education, it's a lot of learn like how this all happened, how we got ourselves in this situation, understanding why people are conflicting with each other, how people are manipulated, and I feel like that's kind of like very good, like to learn. I mean, just for like your personal life, to like it helps you. Like I feel like the best way I was able to describe it to someone is like it's kind of like if someone forced you to play a video game, and he kept dying and dying, and you're just frustrated and like, man, this is hard. But then someone like, it's not much, but someone's like, oh, you're on hard mode. That's why it's like this way. And it's like, you can't change it. You're kind of stuck here, but at least you know you're on hard mode. That's why it's like this. And for me, it's someone like telling me like, oh, you're in capitalism. That's why everything is more or less like this. Like, it's not 100% the reason, but like the reason why you're going through all this hardship is because of all these things that are like all these systems that are in place that are kind of holding you down.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can like learn and get better and like through help overcome it, but you're still under capitalism. You're still in so like you're just gonna have to deal with that until like you get out of it.
Yeah, so they give you like the strategy guide almost.
Exactly, pretty much. You know, I mean, like that's pretty much like what like a lot of like these books are. It's like a strategy guide. Like, hey, you're going against this monster. This is how you defeat it. And that's like, it's for everyone coming up to me like giving me an example. Like, oh yeah, well, did communism work under this? And it's like kind of having to be like, no, it didn't. Let me explain why. And like, in fact, how does capitalism work? Like, what is the thing about this work? Like, you know, yeah, you know, now you know like all these strategies to counter all these people's like examples and all their like everything they're gonna throw at you. But it just takes time, man. Like there have been arguments I've been in where I'm like, oh man, I got nothing for that. Like I don't know what to say. Like I didn't read about that. I didn't learn about that. It's like I don't know, man. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I think one thing that I guess capitalism doesn't necessarily support is empathy, and so when you do get into arguments with people who with conflicting political views, it's all about winning. But I mean, who's really winning there if not everyone wins? And so,
exactly.
When you lack empathy, then you automatically kind of can't really understand, different political beliefs.
Yeah.
But with that said, there's one thing I really wanted to do in this podcast that I should have rehearsed this with Gene.
No, I know what you're gonna do. Yes, I know.
So now that we've heard your the things that you've I guess your journey into self-discovery and your new I guess your new station in life and the goals that you've recently accomplished. We wanted to do something which is, I guess it's a reference to the end of the original TV series. And so we want to reward you with, you want to just go for it, Gene?
Yeah,
so I'll count to three. All right. So 3, 2, we're going to do the English one, okay? We're not going to do the Japanese one. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations. Okay, awesome.
That was good,
Had to do that.
Yeah, so Christian, it was really cool talking with you.
Thank you, man.
I'm actually, this went really well because we're just lucky that you're actually pretty well versed in the series, so you can pretty talk pretty freely about it, and that was pretty cool. Is there anything you got going on that you want to like plug? Maybe your IG account, Twitter account, anything like that? Or
dude, weirdly enough, I can't. Yeah, it turns out because of my job, I might be working for some government facilities, and they are gonna do background checks on me. And I'm like, oh, I had to lock down everything, and I'm like, I can't have them know I'm working there. So like, I've had to shut if you go you'll probably find like it's all locked accounts now. Like I've had to like lock everything, but when I know I'm free and safe, I will let you guys know that I can come back.
Okay.
But at the moment, I'm sadly I'm trying to like shut everything down because like, we might like send you on to this job, so they're gonna do a background check. I was like, they might do a what? So I had to I just shut down all my accounts. Like, all right, I'll be back eventually. Like once they get me on that job, I think I'll be fine. But thank you though for asking.
Awesome. What about you, Gene?
Yeah, you could find me on Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892, and I also do a podcast called the Waffle Press Podcast. So if you want to check out some stuff there, that's how me and Terrence met, and through mutual friends too. But
yeah, Diego and Nick are gods. So.
Yeah.
You can find me at Terrence James. In my band, I play chiptune with a Game Boy and 2 other guys. It's at HBYM_music. And so there should be a Twitter account going up for this. Well, it's already up, but it's at You Cannot Give Up. So just spelled how it sounds: YOUCANNOTGIVEUP. But there's just nothing really on it right now. And so by the time this episode goes up, I'm pretty sure everything will be sorted out. But
Awesome.
yeah, cool. Thanks again for being on our podcast, Christian.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for bringing me on.
Cool. All right. So I guess that's it.
Cool.
What's a cool sign off for this?
Oh man, just on the spot here. Oh man, ugh. Is it fly? You just feel like sing like "Fly Me to the Moon." I don't know.
Okay, I guess what I'm going to do is when I edit this, I'm gonna make you singing that little section of "Fly Me to the Moon" go into the actual song.
Oh my god, I just thought of that on the spot.
Cool.
So yeah,
I like that.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for this was fun.